What are you working, saving, and investing for? Here to talk to us today is Haley Tolitsky. She wrote an article for us about how reflecting on your long-term goals can help you make more meaningful financial decisions that align with your values and priorities. So we're going to welcome in Haley.
Hi, Zach. Thanks for having me.
So the first thing I kind of want to talk about is what sort of questions you should be asking yourself to help you kind of visualize and plan out your financial goals.
Yeah, that's a great question, and it can be kind of challenging, especially when you're thinking about retirement, because that can be 20 plus years down the road. But there's a lot of different questions that you can ask yourself, and I think it really starts with understanding your why. So, the question I love to ask my clients is, what gets you out of bed every morning? And it can be one thing, it can be several things. There's no right or wrong answers, but other than going to work to make a paycheck to pay your bills, what gets you out of bed? Is it family members that you have? Is it career goals that you have? Other causes or passion projects that you have going on? Because those things are really what motivate you to achieve those goals and are going to help you stay on track along the way.
Right. And so when you're sort of talking to maybe younger people who are in their maybe teens or 20s, how can you sort of make sure they stay motivated when they know they're probably not going to see their retirement money for maybe 40 years?
Right, great question. I think it really comes down to envisioning what your future and what you want it to look like. Obviously, that's going to change over time, so you have to be flexible with that vision, but really imagining what you picture for yourself and celebrating your small wins along the way. So, when it comes to retirement, you can ask yourself, what age do I want to retire? Again, don't need to have the exact answer, but do you see yourself working part-time, full-time? Do you want to start a family? All these different goals that you have, it really comes down to setting short-term achievable goals and then celebrating those wins along the way to keep on track towards those big picture items.
Right. And so kind of backpacking off that like short-term idea, let's say you have someone who knows they want to save for retirement, but they also want some money maybe in 10 to 15 years. How can you sort of balance how you're budgeting for long-term and short-term at the same time?
You said it exactly correct. It's all about balance. So we want to make sure we're funding those short-term goals that we have, but also thinking big picture. I think especially for us as a younger generation, it's really hard to envision 30 plus years out. And so we're not really focused on those goals as much as what we have going on now, whether that's saving for a wedding or a car or a house. But you can do both. And so really making sure that you have a solid budget in place and are able to allocate your dollars towards both of those goals that you have, long and short term, is really what's going to make you successful down the road.
Right. And so when you're talking about goals, obviously, maybe when you're in your teens or early 20s, you're setting these goals. Okay, I want to retire by 50. I want to have, a certain dollar amount is going to get me to retirement. And then once you hit that mark, but how often should you kind of be looking back on those goals and reevaluating where you are?
Great question. I think annually is a great place to start for the goals that you have. And again, it depends if it's like a 6 month goal versus a 10-year goal, right? Those shorter goals, we're going to check in more often than the long term, but really making sure that you're at least checking in with yourself annually to look around at your life. Is this the life that you want to be living? Are you doing things that are helping you get towards those goals that you have? And if not, maybe taking a step back and taking the time to reflect on some of the changes that you need to make, whether that's a career change, a friendship change, a budget change. Obviously, there's a lot of different things that you can do, but really taking a step back and evaluating, at least on an annual basis, I think would be really helpful.
Right. I guess sort of moving forward, how can you, when you're in your 18 and you're maybe like early 20s, that's kind of the point of time where you're allowed to take more risky financial decisions because you have so much of your life ahead of you. So how can you sort of balance, oh, I want to save for retirement, but I also want to see what's out there and take some risk?
Yeah, it starts with making sure that you have those solid foundation goals on track first. So saving for retirement, let's say maybe for you that's saving 10% per each paycheck now. And so if you are doing that goal that you have set for yourself, maybe you're also saving for a purchase of a house. So you're putting $500 a month into a high yield savings account for that. And those are your two major goals that you have, but you have some extra money each month and want to take a riskier or make a riskier decision, and again, that word is different to everyone, then you can do so. But making sure that you have those goals and are on track first for those main priorities. And then if you have extra money each month, getting a little crazy with it.
Right. And now kind of moving towards the education and being informed on how to make good decisions, how can you involve your parents or maybe some other loved ones like your grandparents, especially when you're young and you don't know much about what you're doing with your money? How can you involve them in those decisions?
Yeah, this is going to be totally dependent on your situation because obviously some people are closer with family members than others, but it doesn't have to be a family member. I think for so long it was taboo to talk about money or frowned upon, but really with this new generation, we're seeing a lot more openness, especially on the internet and social media. Take some of that with a grain of salt, but not being afraid to talk about money. And again, you don't have to tell people how much money you make or how much you have saved, but asking people what strategies they're taking, asking people what goals they have and what they're doing to achieve those goals, I think can only help educate you and make you better off in the long run.
Yeah, you kind of said it best that you have to take the information you're seeing on the internet with a bit of a grain of salt. So kind of how can you ensure that the information that you are seeing on the internet, let's say you're not close with your parents and you do need information from outside sources, how can you make sure that the information that you're seeing on the internet is good information?
Great question. And I think it's great that there's so much information online, obviously more than the generations before us had. But always make sure that you're double, triple, quadruple fact checking. Just because someone makes a video and tells you you need to be investing in this stock or, buying this investment product, that doesn't mean that that is the best decision for you because financial advice is not one size fits all. It's totally personalized. It depends on where you are, how much money you're making, and what goals you actually have. So I think it's great that we have access to that information, but not all of it is true. And some of it might be true, but it might not be the best fit for you. So making sure that you're checking your sources. For example, credible websites from financial planners that are writing blogs is a little bit more reliable than your neighbor next door on TikTok. But don't be afraid to explore those avenues. Just make sure that you're double checking your sources and your facts.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Haley. That's all the questions we have today. You can read Haley's article at retirementdaily.com.